edition number 1, sponsored by Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell. We are highly interested in developing entrepreneurs and startup businesses. And in this process, we have invited an eminent speaker and startup mentor, Mr. Rajneesh Prabhu. I welcome you, sir. So I would like to introduce to him. He has worked with various corporates and still he is working with Sodexo and also working as director of a Section 8 company. Similarly, he has a work experience of 31 years. Right after graduation from Narsee Monjee College, he started working and he has gone ahead in his career and later on he started mentoring. So he is quite interested in to mentor people even in agriculture startups. Just now we had a chat about it and he told us that there are people who are interested from cities to go in villages to have their startups there. And he was giving me one example of Solapur district where people are doing this agriculture business and they are quite happy. They are having all lavish lifestyle there and they can visit Magarpatta at any time. So that kind of culture we need to develop, and that is why we have invited Rajneesh sir, who has a lot of hands-on experience and he has worked a lot in this particular sector. Now I invite sir to deliver his speech. Is it okay, Shruti madam?
Yes, yes. So I would like to request Tina to kindly stop sharing your screen.
I will share the PPT.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Just give me a moment. Tina, kindly stop sharing your screen. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, sir. Please share your screen.
Can you see the screen now, madam? Hello?
No, sir. We can see your camera only.
1 minute.
Just
1 minute. I think it is now visible. Is it visible now? Shruti madam?
yes, yes, sir. It is visible.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Perfectly all right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Fine.
Absolutely fine, sir. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start my talk about this innovation enablers in business. So this is see, innovation as a subject is a very wide subject, and I will be picking up a few activities and like to give more of an example basis to move ahead on this particular aspect. So to start off with, I just like to give more of a definition of what exactly is innovation from our understanding. So when we say innovation, it is more of an action or a process of innovating, okay, the actual activity of innovating. And if you have to give a definition, also another one is the creation, development and implementation. So it's very important that innovation, when we start off, it is right from the creation, development, implementation of a product, process or a service. So it could be a product, it could be a service, or for all you know, it's a process, which is a new one. And the objective is, of course, with the aim of improving efficiency, effectiveness, and giving a competitive advantage. So these are the key aspects when we're looking at innovation. One should be aware that what is the actual definition and how it makes a difference to on innovation. Now, if I were to go ahead on the characteristics, what are the characteristics of innovation? So generally what we look at it, it has to be something novel, something new, something different. Now, does it always have to be something novel or different? For all you know, a lot of times it could be an imitation or a comparison or a copy of something which is already there. Okay, so something which has happened when you connect to different things, you realize that listen, this is something which has happened before. So when we're saying it has to be something novel, that's what we say as a new. When we say technology based, now most of the innovations today are technology based, which we say are internet or e-commerce or anything. But let's remember that a lot of things which have happened in innovation have also to do with the philosophy in various activities. For example, if I were to say as a philosophy, it would be the introduction of how India won its freedom from the British. Now, to explain the idea of Ahimsa, Gandhi himself took up a totally different, innovative approach. So it could be an approach as well that again would stand the truth of saying that it's an innovative product, because nowhere in the world had happened something like this had happened, and this what came about and it was delivered, and we got a new product out of it. And it has to have innovation characteristic also, that it has to have a positive impact. Now it can have a positive impact, but you also remember that there could be a lot of times there could be a negative impact as well. It has a positive because all the innovation which have to automation has resulted in sometimes of people losing their jobs. Okay, but it also has resulted in a good amount of positive impact in the world. Okay, so these are the few characteristics when we are looking at in terms of innovation. Now, what does it take to be innovative? Now, if I were to give an example, it has to start with a powerful idea. Now, a powerful idea is like an, if I were to term, is an egg. Okay, so it has to be, we have to work on it. Just having a powerful idea is not enough. We need to have, as an entrepreneur, we have to drive it to a lot of hard work, background work to understand what is the problem we are trying to solve and how to move about it. So just having an idea is not good enough, but it has to move ahead to do some background work. So we understand what are we trying to solve, what is the problem we're trying to solve, how are we, what is the environment around it, what is the ecosystem around it. Only when you go about and do all this, you realize that this powerful idea which we have can actually be an innovation. And not to forget that the third and foremost important thing is we have to find paying customers. We may have a great idea, we have done a lot of hard work, but if we are not going to find customers who are going to pay for it, this innovation will not result in anything positive. Okay, so it has to, at the end of the day, it has to be self-sustaining. That's a very important fact which we have to say, is that it has to be self-sustaining. It should not depend on a consistent addition of resources. It could be finance, it could be people resources. So it has to be self-generating in the long term, and then only in such cases can we call it a true innovation. Now, this is a model which we have, and it talks about right from idea generation to development, manufacturing to the commercial product. Now, there are a lot of things in this whole process, whether it is idea generation, development. So each of these steps are generally the steps which we take towards when we go into an innovation of a new product, okay, or a service. Every activity has to be done in such a way that we understand the technology in what we are working. It could be a simple, it could be a social impact activity as well, but we should understand the resources required and how we are going to go about it, till we, and how we are going to, where exactly does it fit into the market. Okay, where exactly does it go in and how does it happen. So this, in a brief, I would say, is more like a snapshot of the entire process, where we talk about what are the inputs required, what is the outcome which will be coming about it, and what is the overall ecosystem required. So you may have, you create a great idea, you develop it, you test it, okay, and then only you are going to go to the market and you want to sell it off. Okay, so this is overall, if I were to take a look at it, the whole cycle. Okay, now one thing whenever we talk about innovations is that what are the roadblocks, what are the challenges we face in terms of innovation is a key aspect which comes about. Okay, now first thing, you hear a lot of people saying that, you know, I am not creative, maybe this is not my area, I don't know what is happening. So firstly, we should understand is that as an entrepreneur, we can never say that, you know, creativity comes as a overall, you know, it's a cycle. You have to understand that everybody has the same size of brain. Okay, it's how we apply it and how we utilize it that's important. So first, as a first starting point, one should understand that as an entrepreneur you cannot say that I'm not creative. This is going to be definitely be a roadblock. It, yes, your starting point will be slow, you may not be able to, and as we go along I'll show you that there are various methods in which you can uh, attempt and try to be more innovative, and this is a gradual activity. I have myself spent a lot of 15-20 years to understand and try to improve upon it. It's a gradual exercise. You cannot say that okay, now you are the most creative person on the planet. It's a time consuming process, but the first and foremost is that one should accept the fact that you should never be saying that I'm not creative. It's a gradual exercise. The other thing which we realize as you go into the entrepreneurship world is that there is never one right answer. So when you observe that all along, right from our school, our college, our education, we have always had, what is there going to be one right answer? In all our question and answers, there is one right answer. In your MCQs, there is one right answer. Only recently you would see that, colleges and all are trying to have, multiple thought process and multiple viewpoints on a solution, on a question. But this is something which we have been ingrained a lot of times on the one right answer. So as you become an entrepreneur, you will see that there can be multiple viewpoints to solve the same problem, and that is only possible when you are going to understand and realize it, when you're going to work in a team and there will be multiple viewpoints to it, and then you will get it. So one thing one should remember is that we should keep this in mind, that there is nothing like a right answer. There could be multiple solutions to the same problem, and it's important to have an open mindset. Then we are always told be logical, be practical, whereas in fact if you are going to be logical and practical, you're never going to get a solution in the startup world, because all things which are logical and practical has actually been found. Okay, but by being not logical and not practical and thinking differently from any solution which has been sought till date is where you can think of bringing out innovative things. Okay, and we also have a thing of blindly following rules. Of course rules are important, I'm not saying that you should violate all rules as such, but when you're looking at it, you should always look at it holistically. Look at it, keep in mind that yes, rules are important, but you should also question that if there is something been formed, why is it, is there can be a different way of following it. Today if you take a look at it, all corporates, everybody appreciates innovative people on the teams. It is really sought for and taken positively. So one thing we should remember is that it's a gradual exercise, and everybody should try to think different ways of following these things, make something new or different. A person who generally challenges will say, no, I will not ask this question because I look foolish if I ask this question. Now this is actually a roadblock, because you are saying that okay, there's somebody more smarter. Okay, you don't want to look foolish. Whereas if you have to appear that you have to ask questions. There's nothing wrong in asking questions, and there's nothing like right or a wrong thing. So feel free to ask. Do never feel like that it's going to be looking foolish. And also people have a lot of thought process on whether I'll make a mistake when I'm asking something, what will other people think. So these are all, in my opinion, roadblocks, and one should never look at it as such, and look at it positively and saying that okay, it's a use this as an opportunity to ask as many questions as possible, because then you are very clear on a road to a different way of looking at things. Okay, and I like to speak to more on how to help achieve creativity. Now a lot of companies today, when we look at the business, creativity is their core company value, and that is always to be kept as a core company, because every company which is, whether it's into a product or whether it's into a service, look at creativity as a positive core company value. So even when we are, even it may be a small business, when you look at it, there has been a method in which people have done a work over a period of time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but that need not be the best way of doing it, right? So we should always look at creating a team who will evaluate these things differently, look at it in a completely different scale. Okay, other thing is a diversity. So diversity would mean you have to have in a team people with different thought process. You can have, when we say diversity, it would mean male, female, it could be age, it could be anything. Why do we require it? Because in a team there would be some people who have seen and encountered these problems 10 or 15 years back, 20 years back, who know that okay, this is what happened. But when you're working in a team, you can identify, okay, this is how it we got stuck the last time, and this is how we're going to improve upon it. So diversity as a skill set in a team will always be positive. Today, a lot of companies put a lot of focus on having a diverse workforce. Why is it that? Because they have found that as a diverse team, they always have a better delivery, they can have better products, they can bring better services to things, and there is a thought process on all the angles. There is nothing which is missed out, and we can look at it differently. One of the things is a flatter organization structure. So earlier you would see that there were various levels in the organized structure. Today, fortunately, we can have most of the organizations are very flat structures. So there would be about not more than 8 or 10 people from top to bottom, and even the most bottom person can reach out to the top guy at a very easy level. And today that has been enabled also by technology. Technology has enabled us to reach out to anybody in the organization without a problem, and this is what is positive, and this actually enables us to be creative and move ahead, because you can reach anyone in the organization at any point in time to ask questions. Capture ideas and harness will also lead to better creativity. So the way to go about it is that it's like a brainstorming activity. So when we do an activity which involves putting it all to all the people and saying that let's think of ideas of solving a particular issue, and but just capturing ideas doesn't make sense. So you have to harness them, you have to utilize them, you have to document them, you have to analyze them and move to the next level. This is where we would go and harness them and move positively. Lateral thinking is also important. When we look at it, things we look at it in a very different way. Let's step aside and think of it in a different manner. This will also improve our way of thinking. Okay. Alternate approaches is what we should encourage our team members when we are working, because we always say, again, this has got to do with what I explained earlier in terms of never blindly follow the rules, because alternate approaches is fine. You may have been in the company recently, but over a period of time people have been used to doing things in a particular way. So when we are doing things in a different, we should encourage different approaches to go and solve the same thing, which is fine. You may fail once, you may fail twice, but at least you now know that how to go about it doing that activity. So alternate approaches, you should always encourage alternate approaches to any of these activities. Uh, this is basically, if I were to say, the three key components of creativity when we're looking at it in terms of innovation as a step forward. One is knowledge, of course. So when we're looking at knowledge, we have to have a lot of information which is available with us when we look at knowledge as a part. So this is an activity, and also critical thinking. So second aspect is critical thinking, where we challenge things on differently, and the most important thing in this is motivation. So if you have all these three skill sets, that is knowledge, critical thinking, and motivation. Motivation is something which comes from within. Honestly, you have to feel motivated to do things. And in a business, if you think your idea is something which in a product or a service or whatever is the best thing, you will be completely motivated to take it forward until it is resolved. So when we have these three key things as a part of a portfolio, then we can say we are creative and we are looking at it positively to move ahead. Okay. Now, what are some of the key aspects to innovation is what I would like to stay upon. One is, of course, we look at it when we say jump ahead of the curve. When we're creating a product, it should obviously be a linear improvement, but the best innovations in the world have always happened when you jump ahead of the curve. So if you think it's going to be a gradual, look at things which are 2x or 3x or a 10x bigger than this. So in that way, you can move ahead and be in the market, because a lot of things, the established companies will always think of moving it in a gradual manner. But when you think of jumping ahead of the curve, you are thinking of, say, moving ahead 10x or 20x. That is what will make a difference. Market your products and keep improving the version. Now, you can never have a product which can be the best, and if you're waiting for it, it will never work. So always work in a manner where you are going to be bring a product to the market and keep improving the version. This is what you would see a lot of companies do that. They move about in a manner. Then don't kill the world, don't let the world kill your ideas is where when we're looking at it, whenever you come out with suggestion, a lot of people will say that, hey, this is not going to work, that's not going to work. But you should be focused on the idea which you have. You should never work back on it, or be intimidated by anybody. The next aspect which I would like to talk is that innovation cannot be planned. So when we're talking about innovation, it's not a planned activity. You cannot say that I will look at innovations every day morning from 5 to 7. No, that's not something it is. But it's a gradual and it's a continuous exercise. The best thing in the world, if I were to say, is that ideas can strike any point in time. So one of the things which I would give as my own example is that I keep in a notepad with me. So whenever I think of something, I note it down. When I go back, I put a note on it and put it on my OneDrive. So it's a permanent data which will be available, which you can always look back and review them. So whenever you have time, you look back and think, okay, this is what I thought about it. Let's see how we can improve upon it. And you have to gradually you have to understand that as the innovators, you have to connect sometimes totally disconnected things. Something which is totally different. Try to connect and see what is the connection. This will also improve us on the innovation and our creativity part. So keep that in mind. Next is basically we're looking at it in terms of ideas are available, but they're usually squashed. So this, if you look from the perspective that when you're working in a company, a lot, like I said earlier, it's almost similar to don't let the world kill your ideas. You come out with something good, there will be many people who will say that, oh, this will not work, this cannot happen. So we should always be focused on improving the ideas as we move around to better things. In a company when we're working, we always have, when we're looking at the definition of entrepreneurs, these are people who work outside on their own. Now a new terminology today is entrepreneurs. These are the people who work in a company and try to do something unique. Okay, now a lot of companies are promoting entrepreneurs because therein you are able to retain your skill set of people who have worked in the organization for a long time, and this will enable them to work in a better manner. So as an organization, it is always important and valuable to find more your entrepreneurs, because this you are actually developing the skill set of entrepreneurship and creativity. See, creativity as a thought process is there, and a lot of people want to do things, but they don't know how to go about it. So the same skill set which an incubator provides outside is what an organization, an established organization, provides to entrepreneurs for the development of their own skill set. Work on a very special project as an entrepreneur in your company, improve upon a product, service, or a social activity, whatever, it could be any of the things. And then you will see that, there are so many opportunities for you. The company may want to spin you off as an independent thing, or you may want to do something on your own. So you have all these opportunities available as an entrepreneur. Now, I just like to also speak on four things which I would say are very critical as a innovation enablers for all things what we have said till date. So one is a vision. So any business, any organization has to have a vision for innovation. You heard a lot of companies have a lot of vision and they want to do a lot of things. So a lot of companies spend a lot of time and effort on declaring, identifying a proper vision that they want to be having an innovation environment ecosystem. When you have all these four things, then you can say that we are good on the innovation front. But as a declaration, every business has to be specific that we are going to have a proper vision in terms of what we want to do 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. That is the vision which is laid out for organizations. When you come to the people are whatever people we have in an organization. This is an important resource as well, because they are today, in terms, if I were to say, these are very key resources today in an organization, because they are the people who think on the ground. So people, having the right type of people in the organization who can be innovative. And if you look at an organization, there are not many roles as such for an innovation. Innovation has to be coming from the ground. So we have to promote from the people perspective what all can happen. The third is, of course, resources. In an innovation cell or wherever you're putting it up, you have to ensure that the resources are correctly available to the innovation team. Okay, so whatever it is in terms of space, in terms of finance, they should not be running around to raise their own resources. Okay, so as a resources, as an organization, as a business, we have to ensure that to have a good innovation coming from a team which is identified, you have to have good resources available for it. The other thing is the environment, that is the ecosystem which is there, which ecosystem is basically includes of all these three things together, and this is what will enable the environment to be properly available. A small thing which was mentioned here is small deeds done are better than great deeds planned. So whatever we do, it has to be incremental, and the objective is that we should move about it in a manner where it can grow slowly. These are the four key. If I were to put this, the highest thing would be the people, because these are the thinkers, these are the brains on the ground who will actually do innovative things with all the other resources and the ecosystem. And not to forget that we have to provide a good ecosystem for any such activity. Now, what are the barriers which can come about to a innovation program? First is, of course, the financial constraints and budgets. So we should always, in a business, provide right constraint, right finance for them and the budget for them. Resistance change is more of a behavioral thing, which it is over a period of time you'll realize that it can happen. uh, a lot of people say that we don't have time for innovation. Now you cannot block time for innovations, and should always have, a lot of organizations have dedicated time frames. So I would give an example that I know a few organizations which ask all their senior management that once a year you must think of something and you must post something new on a website which can be termed as an innovation. It's just that it's more of a brainstorming activity, but each of them have to post something which is unique on a specific individual website. The objective is to collect information, because you cannot identify and keep some time available for innovation. Okay, and definitely you cannot say that I did not find time for innovation. It is, innovation is a thing which will be involving everything. Some people may do it better, some people may do it slowly, but it is not necessary that that nobody can do it at all. It is for everyone. And of course, one of the key barrier is the bureaucracy in organizations, where over a period of time you see that organizations don't want to make anything different. They are used to working in a particular manner. They are used to working in a particular way. So they feel that, okay, this is the right way to work about it. They would not want to make any changes to this. And it is important that this barrier be identified, and we must try to make it easy for all our employees, all our associates, to be open to thinking and create, being more creative. Okay, this is what we term as a, I would say, as a snapshot on the innovation activity learning culture. If you look at it, the first is, who are the basically it talks about the main stakeholders who are there, which is empowerment and communication and collaboration. These are the two key aspects of innovation. One thing, as a work culture of an organization, should always be that we should have a tolerance to failure, and we should recognize that every time you do something need not result in anything positive, but you now know a way what it can not happen in. So that is something which we should do. uh, in a collaborative organization, you should always look at teams which will work together in multiple facets. So in any, when you try to solve a problem, try to find a team which is very varied and diverse. So you come back to the thing that when you have a diverse team, when you have different thought processes, when you have a right knowledge and you create a condition for it, you definitely are going to find an organization which is more innovative in nature and work forward on it. So this is one thing which is there. Now this is basically, if I were to term it, that what are the exercises which you do individually at an individual level to improve upon it. Now this is something which I like and I find it very interesting, is that I would say more like it's a doodling or any other way, but you, these circles, you have it and you try to think what can you fit into it. So it can be different colors, it could be different ways, it could be different thought processes. So similarly, if you complete your circles, move over to squares or whatever it is, but it will enable you to think differently of what all can encapsulate in that whole thing. The other thing is alternate use. So you look at a particular item. Now, take an example of a brick. What can it be used? It can be used as a door stopper. It can be used as weights. It can be used for self-defense. It can be used to build a house. There are multiple things. So these two exercises, I would strongly suggest that one should keep in mind as a entrepreneur, because you will not have time. Maybe you are just on the train somewhere, you're flying somewhere, you're driving somewhere, and you have time on your hand, you don't want to do anything specifically. These are things which you should look at it when we are doing to improve upon your time frame. This is just, I would say that this is going to only improve your creativity and your thought process and your inclusion into newer ideas. These are two things which I would highly recommend. In addition to this, you will find many more exercises which are available, but I personally feel these are the two things, even when you don't have a piece of paper, this is something which you can definitely do and try to improve upon it. Now, if I look at overall the types of innovation, there are four key types of innovation, I would say. One is the totally at the other end of the extreme is what I term as a disruptive, totally, which completes the new technology, new changes, new business, everything. Or it could be something on the lower side of the cycle, which is more of an incremental, gradual, which is, slowly. It could also be radical in terms of technology breakdowns which can happen and create a completely new market. So these are various things which can, that if I were to put it into four brackets, these are the four areas where I would say these are the four innovations which can happen. Now, one thing is that what is our learnings, because whenever we do, we have to do a learning from our, whenever the innovations, we see that there are so many innovations happening and there are some failures. What is the learning which we get from these innovation failures? So first, of course, the most important thing is we have to monitor our competition. It could be a product, it could be a service, whatever is happening, we should be understanding what is happening in the competition. Now, just to give an example is, the if I were to look at way back, the introduction of VHS tapes which were there, and one of the company which was very much famous at that time was Sony. Sony had come out with a particular category called a Betamax, and in competition to which was VHS from JVC. Now, because Sony failed to evaluate that there was somebody else working on a same, and which had tied up with a lot of video companies in the same one. They did not monitor the competition. As the result, when they were about to come to the market, they realized that there was already somebody in the market with an existing product. Now, no doubt, you will not get this information available online or something, but you should keep your eyes open on who is a comparative product in the market, something similar to what you're doing or something similar to this. So keep an open eye on the competition, who is in the market, what are they working on. The second is the product service pricing. Now, pricing is also very important when you're looking at it. You can't afford to overprice the market or underprice. So that is why you may have a great innovation, but if you're not pricing it right, you are going to price yourself out of the market. Third is whether the product is ready for the market. So of course, a lot of times you are ahead of the market, you are ahead of the times. So then you have to keep in mind that as a part of your budget, financial budget, you have to keep a significant amount in terms of concept selling. And you will find that there are companies which have done this because they have educated the market that this product is better than the earlier thing. But we should keep in mind that if you do not do this, then you are opening yourself to a innovation failure. You have done a great product, you have done all the research, but you are too ahead of the market and you have not put money enough for the marketing of the same. Fourth, of course, is the market acceptability. Is the market open to your product? So keep in mind that market acceptability of the product is also very important. Now, when we are talked everything till date, what we are talked about is in terms of commercial viability of it. Now, one very important thing today, which I am observing, that especially from the venture capitalists or any private equity investor, is that they are looking at, even if in case of a commercial or a social impact activity, my first question is which of the United Nations SDGs are you complying with? So SDGs stand for the Sustainable Development Goals, which were set up in 2012 by the United Nations. Now, what are these actually? These are about 17 goals set up to be achieved between 2015 and 2030. Okay, now any business, if you take a look, whether it's a small, medium, or a large business today in the world, looks at it is in which category of this am I compliant with? So if you're an entrepreneur, you should look at it where would you fit in into this, and everybody would fit in somewhere or the other. Okay, it is not that you will not fit in anywhere in this, but this objective here is to ensure that what is my impact other than my commercial nature, where is that I can fit in. Now, for example, if I were to take an easy example, I would say that when I look at activities which are there in the commercial, in the say electronic vehicle industry, EV industry, you know, so they would come more on the number 7, which is affordable and clean energy would be one of them where they are looking at it. And you know, they are trying to build a sustainable cities and communities, which is 11. uh, you would find some companies which are working in terms of nutraceutical products. Now, they would come under point number 3, good health and well-being, and also they will come for point number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. Okay, so even in for example, even if you look at a social impact activities, for example, let's say somebody is working on growing some social impact activities which they are doing, so they would also come under let's say you are doing something for gender equality or something for climate action, so you would fall under various activities. So this is a important activity which I would like to highlight for all our participants, is that whenever you're preparing a pitch deck, whenever you're looking at an organization plan, whenever you're looking at an annual operating plan, whenever you're looking at making anything available to anyone, please do keep in mind this United Nations SDGs, which are an important part of our innovation platform, where we should keep in mind that sooner or later somebody is going to ask us for this. Okay, so keep in mind that this is an important aspect to be viewed upon. Now, on a high level, as a last slide, I just like to talk about is what is the emerging landscape in terms of innovation. Now, there are a lot of things which are working upon on in various areas, but one should remember that, you know, which are the key areas wherever we're working upon, and these are just a few examples. I definitely see that there is nothing on agriculture based here, but today it is all about collaborative working between different segments, different areas. Okay, but when you look at this landscape, these are key aspects which are there, but we should look at it where is there we will be evolving in the next 5, 10, 15 years. That is where we should look for and grow. So as an innovator, we can't be looking at only at a 2, 3, 5 year time frame, but we should rather look at it on a longer time frame, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years. How is it going to evolve? And when you work on a product, that is where you will be able to bring to the nature. So that is my last slide, and I'm open to any questions from anyone. If I'd be more than happy to answer. Dr.
Thank
Shruti,
you so
anything
much.
from your
Yeah,
side?
thank you so much, sir. Now we'd like our participants to kindly raise hand and ask questions. Kylie will be coordinating question answer now.
Thank you, ma'am. I request you to please raise your hands and ask questions.
Sorry, can't hear a bit. Sorry. Voice.
Students, please raise your hands.
Madam, I would like to ask one question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, we had discussions in the morning that there is a lot of scope related to agriculture.
Yeah.
And some of our students are also belonging to agriculture. some of them may have interest in agriculture.
Sure.
So today, as we have seen that in this Russia-Ukraine war, there was a lot of scarcity of food grains, particularly to the European countries and all. And India being a farming country, what will you guide to these students that what kind of scope is there for management students to enter into businesses related to agriculture?
See, I would say that agriculture as a segment, there is a lot of scope, no doubt about it. But one should understand what are they looking at it. Now, for example, I'll give an example that about a few months back, I was in a small town called Manchar, which is away from Pune, about an hour's drive. And when we are looking at it, we realize it was a college as well. And what we realize is that a lot of students there want to do something unique, but they want to come to the cities, you know. And one particular concern they told me was that just a month back, they had a huge stock of tomatoes which had to be thrown away because it was not utilized. They said that the cost of harvesting it and bringing to the market was much higher. Whereas if you observe today that we have to look at this case differently. Whereas I know for sure that in Pune there are companies who are buying tomatoes and converting it into basically sun drying it and then sending it across to Bangalore because there's a huge market for putting it on the pizzas. Now, it's all you require is a particular opening up of a thought process of creating a ecosystem around it. Okay, as a fresh tomato, it has a limited shelf life, but as a dried tomato, you are extending its shelf life. Now, that kind of a thought process has to be thought. It's not that they don't know. There has to be a market ecosystem created, and that is only possible for an entrepreneur to go and take a claim that, okay, can I supply you guys? So it has to be a collaborative effort where you are finding people from cities who have good marketing skill sets, okay, but they have never stepped on a farm. At the same time, you have people in the villages who are, they want to come to the cities because they are enamored by the city. But if you are able to create a matrix team between both these kind of sets of people, you definitely have a way around it where you can solve the problem. So I feel that and honestly, we are working on something of that sort. So the objective is to connect these two sets of people.
Yes.
Who have they are looking at it in a very different. They are looking at their own silos. But if we are able to connect these two things together, then we have something good to go.
Yes, definitely, sir. Very good answer. And I would like to add one point is that see there is a problem of communication and transportation. So we as a student of management, you can start a consultancy wherein because I have seen what happens with the farmers. They sow the seeds at wrong time. They cultivate such a product which is not which get produced in abundance, and then the price goes down. So a lot of consultancy can be provided by management students related to weather and all these things. Similarly, some of you can go for transport businesses, like where you can become an aggregator of transport, because nowadays, as sir mentioned, tomatoes every time this happens in Pune district that huge amount of tomatoes are grown, huge amount of onion is grown in Nashik district, and it is thrown away at a very low price, very very low. So as you may have interest in agriculture or you may belonging to a family business of agriculture, so as an intellectual you can help them in marketing, because see Amul is a marketing federation, understand this. So it has helped their farmers in marketing milk and milk related products. Same way you can form your own company wherein you can help farmers grow their businesses and help our country also. Even you can export also. Right? You can study such Jain irrigation and all.
So now you gave the example of onions. It's an important thing because the company which I work with, we have working in multiple places where we provide food services.
Yes.
Now onion is a fundamental ingredient in any of our curries.
Hotel.
Correct. And it is not necessary that I use onion as a full onion, as a fresh onion, because when I put it in a curry or it's a more of a paste. So because the price has been moving so much in the last 4 5 years, every once a year or twice a year prices just go to the roof.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so what we have done is that we purchase onions in bulk, we dry it off, and by drying the onion, it extends the shelf life to 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, and this is anyway at the end of the day when I'm making a paste, it doesn't matter whether it's a full onion or a dried onion.
Yes.
So I buy onions in bulk and I convert it and I store it. So this is something. This is an. It's not a product which is available in the market. You can't go in a shop and buy a dried onion. But for commercial use, this is
Yes.
a good solution for me because I buy onions in bulk, dry it and store it.
Yes.
So again, this is a totally different business altogether,
Yes.
but we can do this. I mean, so there are multiple options
Yes.
available.
Even Jain irrigation is there. They convert it into onion powder, which is in huge demand in US. So you can become an export oriented with it. So there is a huge demand and food is always required. That is
One thing I would just like to alert here is that see, food business is very interesting, but we should have some understanding on the ground.
Yes.
Because a lot of people from the cities are just, we are not even stepped on a farm and we want to get into agriculture business. This is what I would like to be a bit sensitive. We have to go and understand the business on the ground. It is not sitting and working on Excel files where we can build businesses. It has to understand at the ground level what is the reality, what is actually happening, is what we have to be sensitive to understand and move into a different business.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Tina, you can go ahead with your question. I think you have raised the hand.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. My question was, when can we know that a product is market ready? Like you've said, that we can put the product out and then keep improving on it, keep innovating on it. But then you've also mentioned that we should make sure that the product is market ready. So, when do we know exactly that the product is ready for the market?
So I'll just say here is that it depends on what exactly is the product you are bringing to the market. If it's going to be a completely innovative new thing, okay, then you may want to start it at a first level and keep iterating on it. You get better and better. But if there is a product already in the market which is similar to that, then you would want to have a differential feature. But between, see, these are two strategies. You can have wait for till the best product comes, which will never happen. Okay, there will be so many iterations. You would see in all the softwares today there is a version coming every 6 to 9 months. Now, if they were to wait for the final best version, it would never have come at all. So I
Right,
would
sir.
I would strongly suggest that depends on the product availability in the market. What is it that you can do is how I would analyze it. But yes, it has to have certain basic features, because if you are bringing a Me Too product into the market, then obviously you are not going to get started off in a better manner. Either you have to have one or two features which are unique to the existing product, which will differentiate your product vis-a-vis the competition. That will be better, it would be my suggestion, Tina.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tina.
Rajni sir, I have a question.
Yes.
This is out of curiosity. I mean,
Yes,
since
please.
you have so much of career and experience in this particular domain. Now, what according to you are the most profitable startup businesses in India?
See, if I were to say the most profitable startup businesses in India today, if you take a look at it, they would be more from the agriculture based and tech based, okay, which have worked upon, and generally these are the businesses which are sold off, or these are acquired quickly by people who can find out that or who can ascertain their true worth. So definitely, I have observed that in today's time, especially after the COVID, one sector which has done very well is the nutraceutical. Okay, nutraceutical, which is supported by basically validated results. So these are patented products from the nutraceutical side. Earlier, anybody would come to the market and say that okay, this is based on Ayurveda, this is based on this, and come to the market. Which in the last after the COVID has slightly changed into products which are claiming that okay, we have done aims these are testing done, these are medical tests, ICMR has validated a product. So that I feel has got a huge potential in the upcoming period, especially in the next 2 3 years. People who have done, tried and trialed this product. That is one. Second biggest area which would be is the EV industry, okay, which is you see that a lot of, especially in Pune, there's a lot of two-wheelers which are there, four-wheelers which are there, and I personally feel that there is going to be a huge shift in the next 5 years, where probably, you may laugh at me, but you may see less number of petrol pumps on the corner. They might shut down, and there may a lot of EV based vehicles which will come in. Now you may give an example that there has been fire and all these things, but these are minor things which happens in any industry, and that these are teething troubles. But in terms of long term, I think that's a very very promising area which has a huge scope, and which will impact everyone, all of us. If you remember, about 15 20 years back, to have internet access, we used to go to shops. I mean, not many people on this group may remember this, but I remember that, to have internet access, we used to go to shops. And people today will laugh at us when today it is available on the phone. So these are the changes which have happened, and when actually, honestly, I tell my daughter that I used to go to a shop, she laughs at me and says that you went to a shop just to get internet, and today it is an acceptable fact for that you have it on your phone. So I'm saying that there is huge, and honestly today, that is why we have this world of entrepreneurs, because if everybody could think alike, we would not have entrepreneurs, because they are differential thinkers and people who think. And you may laugh at somebody and say if somebody says that, "Arey, this is a new business plan," but that guy is completely convinced that this is doable. And because there are people who say this is not doable and this is doable, that is when the success of these few guys makes the entrepreneurship world a much better place. So you'll obviously have somebody who says that this is doable, and that is where I would encourage people to take some one subject as you are studying, and then take a totally diverse subject. Now this is something which I saw and I learned in Japan, where the students take one subject which is totally disconnected to what they are learning and try to learn out of it. Something which is totally, so I am a commerce student. I was always a commerce student, but I picked up a subject of space research. So I used to do everything which is there, go to the sites whichever had something to do with space research and try to understand. Now it has nothing to do with my career for 20 years, nothing to do, but still I took an interest and I tried to learn things. So I'm saying, uh, try to do things which is totally disparate from what you have done till date. I don't know in which year it will help you, but it will definitely help you.
Thank you so much,
Yep.
sir. Sir, I would have one more question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So,
One student is waiting. After that, I will take it.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Rohit, are you there? Rohit?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Rohit,
Rohit.
please ask your question.
Yes, sir. So we were talking about agriculture, right? And also you mentioned the EV startup. So, sir, I myself have tried the kesar plantation and certain pharma crops. So, what happens in that is that you have to yearly change the greenhouse, and you have to sell it in a market which is pretty far away from where we stay, right? Like in Maharashtra, also there are certain, and also in Maharashtra there are certain like strong holding groups that control that particular market, and you
Correct.
can't file a patent or certain right that you get on the product because it is agriculture based. So how do you deal with that? Because in that sort of field or in that sort of an atmosphere, you can never succeed, right? When you are small or you don't have that much of an capital, so succeeding is very difficult in that. So what do you think
So,
about that?
yeah, Rohit, you are right on that. So, since you mentioned subject close to my heart of agriculture, I'll just tell you one important thing. And you are right. See, there are some politically aligned activities is one thing, but if you look at the product per se, I would just like to tell you that I'm currently working with a gentleman in Pune who is also has a very simple product which is basically which results in a soil culture improvement. Now he has not filed a patent for it, but he has masked the product in such a way that you cannot, by using the most sophisticated labs, you can identify what is the constant or, but it's a fantastic product, and the product is used by two multinationals to market as if their own product. So my answer to that is that honestly, till I met these two gentlemen, and in the last, this is just what I observed in the last 1.5, 2 years, is that one is you create a patent on a product, but patent in certain cases exposes your product to a lot of people who will find a way around working. Okay. Now, I had experienced this gentleman, one in Pune and one gentleman in the Middle East, who have masked their products, agri-based products, in such a way that you cannot find the constituents of that product at all. And at least till now, for the last 6 to 7 years, they have been successful. I don't know how far it will continue. But to answer that, these are agriculture products which are very common. Now, if you go to the market, there will be 100 people who make soil enhancers, 100, if not more. But he has been successful in marketing his product because of the unique nature. So to answer your first part, agriculture based products, yes, it is tough, but in some cases you have to go around probably working with a third party who will probably buy you in your items, and basically you will be more be a contract manufacturer for certain items. That's what I mentioned in terms of oils. But as far as the
So,
political issue is concerned, where they put a pressure, honestly, I don't think, at least I don't have an answer on how to address the political part on it. Huh?
Sir, I would like to add one thing, because this political issue which Rohit you have raised. What I suggest is that you become a collaborator. Do not become a competitor. Collaboration is the new term nowadays, right? So
yes,
wherever you such pressure is there, you collaborate with them and you become supplier of
yes,
them. Let them sell it on their brand name. Doesn't matter, you will earn money out of
clearly.
it. See, ultimately business is run not for only pride, it is basically for earning money. And when you earn
Mhm.
money, automatically you will grow in that field. I will give you one example. Like, there are suppliers, like for example Badwe Engineering is there, who produces silencer. Basically they were suppliers of only Bajaj in the beginning. Now they have grown in such a manner that Bajaj is not disallowing them in supplying to other companies also. Same is the case with Duro walls, which produces tappet walls. Tappet walls are required in this four-stroke engine. Right? Those walls now they are supplying to Mercedes also. So you will grow. You do not be in hurry to grow. Right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Gopal.
So, Rajni sir, I was asking, since post-pandemic, we have seen a lot of digital transformations. So, what is your take on this digital transformation and its impact on startup? Because we see that startups normally they have incapacity, of funding huge digitalizations or say technology and all. So, how do these startup cope up with this digital transformation pressure?
See, I would say that when you're looking at a startups and a digital transformation, of course, it's important digital today because everything is going online nowadays. But I would just say that we should not. For example, I just sorry, I'm coming back to my agriculture example, but in there I don't even do anything digital or anything online because my segment is different there. I don't do anything digital. I don't even have a website for that, but I still sell my products. So I feel that this is a very segment specific, when we should not put too much focus on a digital. For me, in a few of the startups, a digital activity is a cost. If I'm getting revenue more than that, then I will do digital. If it is not, I would not do that, honestly. So my only statement here is that let's be understanding the segment or the customers whom we are trying to address, and if the customers demand that I have a digital presence, I will do that. If I don't want it, now the soil enhancers are used by farmers who are using not even a smartphone. So in such cases, I definitely, for the product category which I am launching, I would not look at any spending money for digital, but I would rather do some sort of ad campaign in some village fair where I'll put some posters. That is what I would focus upon. So it is advertising, but in a different way for my product, not digital online.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Rasika madam, Rohit, have you finished your question?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Rohit, you can lower your hand if you have completed your questions. Rasika madam, you can go ahead.
yeah, sir, I was just adding on to your answer which you gave to Rohit.
Yeah.
He was talking about political impact and facing certain problems. We have an alumni who was my batchmate himself by the name of Ajit Apte. He's the
Okay.
sarpanch of a village and an onion grower. So, Rohit, I will share his number with you. He may help you out very actively in the problems you are facing.
That's really great and helpful. Huh? Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Hasika. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Sir, I'm
Madam
a
teaches
professor and
entrepreneurship in
and
very
an
good.
alumni of
An alumni.
the institute also. Yeah, thank you, sir.
That is the most helpful thing we can find on this group. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I think there are no more questions. So I now request Tina to come propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Saili. Uh, So it gives me immense pleasure to present this vote of thanks. I'm Tina Santani, and on behalf of Deccan Education Society, IMDR, I'd like to formally thank you for providing us with such valuable information, for giving us your invaluable time and putting in so much efforts into presenting and taking us through this journey of innovation with your presentation. You literally took us in onto this journey describing what innovation is and what does it take, giving it into us in snapshots, talking about the roadblocks. What is creativity? It is knowledge, critical thinking, and most importantly motivation. You provided us with the key aspects of what innovation is. You also gave us an insight on what kind of barriers a person can face while innovating. You elaborated on the types of innovation being radical and such. You also mentioned that what are the learnings from innovation failures, and as Thomas Edison mentioned, when I created 1,000 bulbs and did not create electricity, I knew 1,000 ways of not creating electricity. With that thought, sir, thank you so much for providing us with this information today. I hope we can all put it to great use in our future endeavors. Uh, I would also like to thank our director, faculty, non teaching staff for constantly encouraging us and supporting us with such great corporate connect. I thank the entire student organizing team, the technical support, and lastly, but certainly not the least, all my fellow student colleagues. Without whom this program wouldn't have been a success. Thank you so much, sir, for providing us with valuable insight and
Tina,
for answering various questions
okay.
meticulously. Yes, sir.
Tina, we have with us our director, madam. She would
Okay,
like
sir.
to speak. Right? Over to you, madam.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Shivne sir, and thank you, Tina, for your kind words. But because I am entrepreneurship is very close to my heart, and we have such a fantastic resource person. I have a couple of questions that I want to ask him.
Yeah, feel free, Shika.
One of the,
Absolutely, ma'am. We would
yeah.
like to know as well.
No, because there are things that I know about him, and I want y'all. And y'all, I'm happy that today so many of you are present in the session today. That I want to open your eyes to a lot of things, and that is where my question comes from. What I want to ask you is that sometimes I'm sure in our daily lives when we are doing various tasks. There are so many problems that we see around us, and we also know solutions. Now, if I may ask you, is what are the certain bottlenecks or thought process blocks that we may have, which stop us from going on to this journey of converting these problems into commercial enterprises, or going through that journey, if I may ask you that.
So you're asking what are the bottlenecks which
हाँ,
convert a thought process into ideas into commercial
हाँ,
ventures.
which stop from converting them,
Yeah.
क्यों
So
हमको रोकती हैं चीजें, so that this young generation should uh, uh, go on that journey and take more risks, is what I wanted to ask you.
correct. So for me, when we are looking at a thought process, see anybody can get thoughts. That's not the easiest thing to when you are driving, we are traveling. Idea to aa sakta hai. But I think more important of putting it in paper and thinking and taking it forward. That is the first step.
Yeah.
Because everybody will say, I wanted to build the Taj Mahal, but I could not for various reasons. So thinking is for me, it's just the first step. Anybody can think, but what are the next steps as an entrepreneur? What we have taken is the most important thing. When we say what are the next steps, it means doing some homework about the concept, what is there, what is the background to it, all those things. If you do not do your homework, and then you are going to start off in a very bad manner in terms of even the product. Okay, so first is do the homework. Is there a product similar to what you have thought about it? Is there some other application? What is that you can do? That is the next step for it. And only after that, and is it commercially sustainable in the market? तुमने अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बनाया है, तुम आइडिया अच्छा है, but it can never be commercially viable in the market. Then you have a different thing altogether. But that doesn't mean you stop there. You have to look at a different application. Maybe it has some social impact support. You can have some social impact support as well. ऐसा नहीं कि आइडिया अच्छा रहेगा and it may not be supported today commercially, but you will definitely find it. If it's a viable solution to a problem at hand, you will find people who are interested. So today, fortunately, we are in a time where there are a lot of CSR activities, CSR funds which are want to doing something innovative. They are ready to take a trial on it. They are ready to do this. And I'll tell you very simple. I found in Bombay there was a CSR which wanted to basically dig ponds across Raigad district. Why? Because it could store water. Such a simple thing. Now it's not a complex thing. Digging so that they wanted that in the long term, these water bodies can be expanded to have fish, to support agriculture around it. Now you tell this as a business plan commercial, nobody will finance us for this. Idea is good, but who will finance it for just digging wells?
Right.
So what I meant is that if you think of a particular idea, you have to basically extend it by doing homework, doing all the work around it. What is the team you require? It is never, as an entrepreneur, it is never a single person driven activity. If you are going to do as a single person activity, some stage in life, somebody is going to ask after you what will happen to the business. So my strong suggestion is that as an entrepreneur, you may start off as a thought process to be one, but gradually you have to build a team, 2, 3 people, 4 people. You may not be able to pay them today, but when you're working for it and when you approach an investor, the first question investor asks you is who all are there in this? And if you are a one person team, you have actually gone one step in low in his ranking, because he thinks that uske baad kya hoga. So I personally feel, Shika, that as a when we're working on this activity, it is important for us to idea is there. We need to do a lot of homework associated with it and move it forward in a manner where it can be commercially viable. If it is not commercially viable, there has to be an impact fund which will support it for a particular period. Even if it's an impact fund which is supporting for a particular period, we should give it a thought on a timeline. It could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, where you realize that there is some outcome out of it which can be converted into commercial impact.
Right. Rajneesh, a couple of questions again come to my mind. Like I said, any interaction with you leaves more questions
Sure, sure.
you ask. So you are a part of this entire entrepreneurship ecosystem in Pune and outside. Can you also kind of throw light on why now is just the right time to become or think of becoming entrepreneur for this generation?
See, when we look at it today's time, today's, honestly, I'm telling you, today's parents are supportive of kids to try out new things. Okay, this is very important. Now, if 15-20 years back, people who were really had that drive would be an entrepreneur or businessman. Either you're from a business family where you are supported, or as professionals, it is very difficult for anybody to be supported for being an entrepreneur. But in recent times, I feel that parents are much more open to their kids trying new things, new lines of education. Earlier time, you would say that you have either to be an engineer or an finance accountant. There are two things, or a chartered accountant. Today parents are saying, okay, do what you want, try out new things. This is a difference in today's time. That's a very important, I think, support of parents and seniors is very important today. That is one thing. Secondly, the whole ecosystem around it. There are a lot of supportive things, and even in colleges, schools, even in schools, there are entrepreneurship clubs where they allow people to do really, try out different things. Simple thing as setting up a small library and running it in a school to do a live to do this. Or in schools, they are allowed to basically do art classes, or create some art products and try to sell. So this is all, I feel that this is a basis of future when you're going to be an entrepreneur. And today the government is also spending a lot of amount in promoting this. See, when you're promoting an entrepreneur, you're again creating a whole ecosystem around it. But when you're wanting to join as a employee of a company, then you're you're standalone guy. So I feel that recently there has been a lot of thought change among all these people who are supporting it to allow, or rather to support this setting up of entrepreneurs. And today kids are also more thinking in that one. Well, just to share my own example, I also wanted to start off 30 years back as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Why did I go back to the corporate? So I'm just saying that it was more incentivized for me to become a join the corporate. But the minute I felt that I still had my heart in entrepreneurship, I came back. So what I meant to say is that today you have an ecosystem around it which supports. Every school, every college has a Atal incubation center, or they promote in some or other program to support. So I think the support infrastructure has improved a lot in the
And
last few years.
Rajneesh, so one thing is that to provide a conducive ecosystem within the institution. So one of the takeaways for us as an institution from what you have just spoken is that provide them the right kind of environment. So they're thinking of products, they're thinking of services, they're thinking of new things. And over this the 2 years of time that they spend with us, they become entrepreneurial. So that's one thing that is a responsibility. One of the things that weighs their mind is funding. So funding is one area where they may have questions, etc. Would you maybe talk about availability of funds and availability of investors around for genuine and good ideas?
So in terms of funding, I would say that, see, funds are when you're talking about a startup, it is always on bootstrap funding. Okay, you have to start off in a very in a nature where you are wanting to prove the product. I know people who have worked really 4-5 years and really worked hard on it to create a product, and finally it is recognized in the market as a unique product. So I would not say there is a time frame that the minute you think of a product and it's a great idea, you get funded. No, it is not. It requires a lot of time and effort, and it requires a lot of putting personal funds in. Okay, and if you think that we will not put any of our own, because Any investor is going to ask you what is your skin in your game. If you are just being an employee of this business, then what is the advantage? So obviously everybody has to put in either time, effort, and a few of your funds, personal funds, to get it up to a particular level. Now, saying that, I would say that today, to take out better experiments in this particular field, you will always find social impacts are very important. So that is where I'm coming back to saying that the UN SDGs, when you are going to do any business, even if it may be a commercial nature, if you're going to project your business for the first 1 year as to say something that this is going to benefit the social impact nature initially, maybe it will provide employment, maybe it will reduce poverty, maybe it will improve the soil health, maybe it will improve something which is going to do an impact, then I think you have definitely got an access to CSR funds who do not mind taking a bite and saying that let me support you for this specific activity for 1 2 3 years.
Right.
So in overall, I see that funds will always be a challenge for any business. Okay, it is not even the biggest business will have a challenge on the funds, but the focus is on what is the outcome in the short term, medium term, and long term is what we're going to present, and the short term has to be where your impact is more of a social nature plus the commercial nature.
Right. And Rajesh, one more thing. When we are talking, I'm sure you've covered various facets of innovation and the innovation enablers. But you know, there is a confusion. They've attended a session on IPR also and the importance of IPR for entrepreneurship. But as a business school, when we are looking around us, there may be so many products and or services which are already existing, but then you one could think of new ways of doing a thing or new markets for existing things. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, how important is that the product itself or service itself should be innovative, or there could be existing stuff which could be the reach could be for new markets, and and it's okay, they may be existing products.
Yeah, so this is a very touchy subject, and I'll tell you one thing important is that all my few years, whatever I worked in, is as always, I also promoted that you should have patented products to work upon. That's what, because most of our customers earlier, wherever we worked upon, whether in the Middle East, US, anywhere, wanted products which are patented, okay, which are solution services which are there. But I have observed recently, as low as early as not more than a year back, that I have some investors who are asking ki you need not have a patented product, okay, it has to be unique, but you mask the product in such a way that nobody can break the code of it. Okay, so this is something which honestly for me also is new, because I am also trying to get my head around it ki how exactly does it work. But like I told you, that in this particular product which I'm talking about is a soil enhancer, the guy has been able to succeed for the last 7 years without its code being broken.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say the proof is in eating the pudding. So
Right.
so I'm also surprised, and for me also, being coming from the corporate world, where if anybody says naya idea, naya product hai, I will first push him to do a patent.
Right.
But this is a totally new model, and this has not come from an entrepreneur, but it's come from an investor in the Middle East as well. The
Okay.
investor in the Middle East said, do not patent your product, because the minute you patent your product, it's going to be available for all to do incremental activity.
Right. Absolutely.
So, so honestly, I don't have a right answer to it, because I'm still exploring on how for my company's products I have to use this. So that is what I would leave it at that, because
Yeah, this
ideally I would
reminds
say
me.
patent is important, but my experience for the last 1 year shows it differently.
Yeah, so this is what we were discussing in the morning when we met, that there is no one right answer always.
Absolutely, absolutely. After 30 years, I'm realizing that maybe what we did 30 years was, maybe it was some different way of doing it.
Exactly, and one service provider had come to us also, and we are planning to buy his product. So he gives us he has management games, board games, like we have Ludo, etc. So he had board games, and he tries to teach management concepts through board games, whether it is finance concepts like fund flow, cash flow, and all of these marketing concepts like positioning and targeting or segmentation. So he uses those board games, and he was categorical that I am not going to patent these board games because first it was a long drawn process, and second it was the life of the patent would be 10 years, and plus very easy substitutes. It could be easily substitutable without breaking the patent uh, whatever patent requirement. So it would could be easily with color changes, etc. So there is a thought process where do you really think of patents and copyrights and IPRs, or are they overhyped? So that's would you have any views on that?
No, honestly, like I said, ideally, given my textbook's response is that patent karna chahiye. Okay, that is my textbook response. But what I learned in the last 1 year is that, see, if it was only from an entrepreneur, it's different. But today I have an investors also asking a similar nature. So maybe there are other people who are asking, ki, as long as you are making money, as long as it cannot be broken, why are you looking at it? And it's not only a question of cost, Shika. It's not only a question of cost. Now, like the board game guy you told, it is not a question of cost to him. It's a question that when you're filing a patent, you're writing the whole details of the product, the background of it, and you're publishing it online.
Yeah.
So it's almost like similar. For example, if you were to observe, I really find it difficult where people come on Shark Tank and they give their all their costing, कितना cost है, कितना product का price है, कितना उसका margin है, to everybody on. And do you think the customer of that will not let him go after the next time they meet up? So I feel that publishing such information online is as a patent is probably it is not right way, but we have to explore if there is. I did get to know a few sometime back that there is in the US there is a particular way of patenting where you are it's a black box approach.
Okay.
So I just have to check it because we are working on one of the where we have actually filed a patent, and that activity is coming up in the next 1 month. So probably in the next couple of months, I'll be able to answer you as to how we have addressed that problem there.
Right.
Madam, I have one question is there.
Sir,
Like
one last question from my side, then I'll pass it over to you, Abhijit sir. So, one of today is a very big day at IMDR. We of course have you as a resource person in such an important session sponsored by Ministry of Education. There is one more event that is happening at IMDR, and that is we are a part of this. Or we are managing the Deccan Education Society in Business and Technology Incubator, which is Dr. P.C. Shizvalkar Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And today, about 20 young and dynamic entrepreneurs at various stages of ideation and company formation are making a presentation to register for the incubator. So today is a very big day. So would you just motivate this young generation to be a part of that thing? I mean, to think of those, and maybe they should. I would be so happy that IMDRites are there presenting and wanting to register for the incubator because they have an idea. So, would you like to motivate them?
Definitely, definitely. I would think that this is a great opportunity as whatever part of life you are there working on it. This is an opportunity. It's a learning opportunity. Firstly, and it's not only a learning, but it's a career changing opportunity for anyone to work as an entrepreneur. And I would just say, till date, one thing which I observed is that whenever we say entrepreneurs, always a single team driven. I would only suggest that you work as a single, but you create a team around it because at the end of the day, two, three heads are always better than one. And as a team member, and I think as an organization, IMDR can provide the best platform because the people who are coming to do management education probably would have spent 1 year in a job and coming here, so they have the right experience. And as an organization platform, if we are able to provide them with where you have two three different skill sets working together, I think that cannot be a better opportunity for the business to succeed. More from the entrepreneur, but the business to succeed, this is very important, Shikha. So I would say that do not miss this opportunity, pitch in a manner, and I think whenever you're telling, you should, because all these entrepreneurs talk from the bottom of their heart. You know, one thing I learned in the last, especially in the last 2 years, Shika, is that a lot of entrepreneurs whom we meet now, they have, they may sometimes have a problem in communicating in English. So I would suggest that please
It
do not
doesn't.
feel any time on that. You know, you can speak in Hindi, Marathi, whatever the person explains. Okay, but do not ever feel that you, because you don't cannot speak in English, it is your idea is still the best in the world.
Yes. Yes.
दैट इज वन थिंग आई वुड टेल एनीबडी कि कभी भी ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि हमको इंग्लिश नहीं आता है तो वी कांट स्पीक. Unfortunately, my Marathi and Hindi is not so good, but I have learned that, you know, whenever I speak to people, because like I said, for my earlier organization, I had about 40,000 students, 40,000 people who work with me who do not know English, who know Hindi, Marathi, and local languages. But still, I was able to communicate with them and, you know, get this thing resolved. Now, just because I'm able to communicate, then these guys are more comfortable. So that's the first and foremost, is that you're able to explain the idea is important, not in the language what you're telling. That is, for me, is the most important.
Wonderful, Rajneesh. You know, today in that incubator presentation, one of my team members, Mr. Kiran Kadam, who is our computer lab in computer lab assistant, he is presenting one idea, fabulous idea he has, and I told him to aram se Marathi mein bol.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Your
That is
language
wonderful.
is no barrier. We are going to make a big business out of it. Over to you,
Absolutely.
Shivne sir.
See, it is thanks to the ecosystem created, Shikha, by people like you and the organization, where a person is more comfortable explaining. That's more important. So, ecosystem for me is the most important thing, where people can express their ideas clearly, whatever language it is, and you can be able to explain the thought process, why you think this can do, and whatever it is. That's a very important thing.
Yeah, and we have all told Kiran अपने presentation में बोल जिस जिस जो जो तेरा यहाँ पे colleague है ना, they have generated an inquiry for you.
Very good.
Over to you,
Very
Shivne
good.
sir.
Uh-huh. Madam, this is really very important that sometimes people get afraid because of the language.
Yes,
So language is only a medium of communication.
Absolutely.
And we have one myth that English is the most important thing. It is not. Because
Correct.
you
Correct.
know MDH Masale, that fellow died recently at the age of 99. He used to sell masale without English.
yeah, but being from IMDR, we have to tell them it is not the only thing, but I think we should tell them look for placement purposes and interviews. It is important.
For placement, it is
But
necessary.
yeah, yeah.
To
So,
become a job seeker, English is must. To
but
Absolutely.
become a
not to
job
become a
creator,
job
English not a.
so not to become a job creator.
This was really a very interesting session, and as the time doesn't permit us to go ahead further, it is
Yes,
12:10 now. I really thank Rajnish sir, and he has spoken organically
yes,
without any theory actually. That I
yes,
liked very much. Right,
yes.
to become entrepreneur, you should have out of box thinking and have your own ideas and creation. Right. Thank you very much, sir. And I thank Shikha madam, Shruti madam, Gopa madam, and Pritha madam. Those are organizers of this particular session. And thank you all the students and faculty members who have joined the session, and you have graced the occasion. And do not just join, become jobs
Yes,
creators. Right? Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much, Rajneesh.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sir, thank you so very much. I would like to show my gratitude to you. Thank you so much. Your session was truly enriching and insightful. Thank you.